Do you know why the glorious throne of King Solomon, son of David and Bathsheba, is a figure type for the Virgin Mary? As we read in 3 Kings 10, King Solomon also made a great throne of ivory and overlaid it with the finest gold. King Solomon became the king of Judea and Israel, and he had made, as we read in the 3rd book of Kings, a great throne of ivory and overlaid it with the finest gold. It had 6 steps, and the top of the throne was round behind, and there were 2 hands on either side holding the seat, and 2 lions stood, one at each hand. And 12 little lions stood upon the 6 steps on the one side and on the other. There was no such work made in any kingdom. St. Albert the Great paraphrases this description, applying it to the Blessed Virgin Mary, in the following words: King Solomon made a throne, to wit, the glorious Virgin, in the time of grace, when the Mother of Mercy appeared in the world. He made the throne of the ivory of chastity and innocence. He made it great in nature, in grace, in glory, in mercy, in humility, in goodness, in generosity, in beauty. He overlaid it entirely, royally, more than any other creature, with the finest gold of charity. It had 6 steps. The first is humility, the second, virginity, the third, poverty, the fourth, modesty, the fifth, patience, the 6th, temperance. The top of the throne was round by the hope of heavenly things, and there were 2 hands holding the seat, which is Mary, by a holy fear of the Lord and reverence. The Blessed Virgin had towards Jesus sentiments full of fear and reverence, for although he was her son, he was nevertheless her Lord and God. There was no such work made, no work so wonderful, so useful, so precious, so beautiful, in any kingdom, in heaven or on earth. On Solomon's throne sat the wisest of kings, but upon Mary, this sublime and living throne, sat Jesus Christ, he who gives wisdom and power to the kings, he who is the eternal wisdom. For this reason, the Church properly calls the Blessed Virgin Seat of Wisdom. You're listening to Genesis 3:1-5. I will put enmities between thee and the woman, and thy seed and her seed. She shall crush thy head, and thou shalt lie in wait for her heel. I'm your hostess, Mariana Bartold, the author of Fatima, The Signs and Secrets, and Guadalupe, Secrets of the Image. Many learned and pious authors have made various reflections on the description which Holy Scripture gives of Solomon's throne. The following lines contain some of their considerations on the subject, taken chiefly from the writings of Saint Peter Damian. The Blessed Virgin Mary is the throne of Solomon, which is interpreted peaceable, for the King of Peace rested in her. In this throne, in Mary, sat the eternal King, who, being God, emptied himself, taking the form of a servant. And that's paraphrasing Philippians 2, verse 7. The Son of David is called by 3 different names in Holy Scripture: Solomon, Ecclesiastes, and Jedediah. The first means peaceable, the second, preacher, and the third, beloved. The throne, however, is ascribed not to the preacher nor to the beloved, but to the peaceable King, because Christ came to restore all things in heaven and on earth, and to establish peace between God and man through the instrumentality of the Blessed Virgin Mary. Our Blessed Lady is the throne of God, says Peter of Blois, but not a throne from which he sends his thunderbolts, not a throne from which he promulgates the sentences of death and the decrees of eternal damnation, but a throne from which he exercises a peaceful dominion, a throne from which Mary's Son, Jesus, grants through the prayers and merits of his Blessed Mother forgiveness to the criminals, freedom to the captives, light to the blind, rest to the weary, health to the sick, relief to the poor, security to the timid, fidelity among friends, peace between enemies, certitude in doubt, truth in error, solace in affliction, rescue in warfare, refuge in exile, a haven in shipwreck, wisdom to the ignorant, exaltation to the humble, grace to those who begin and advance, and to those who persevere and triumph, glory, and an eternal crown. Mary is a throne of ivory. Why is the praise of ivory put before that of all other precious materials? Ivory alone is the substance from which so excellent and beautiful a throne could be made, explaining why the Holy Scriptures say that of this throne there was no such work in any kingdom. Ivory is white, hard, and durable. And what can be whiter than that virginity, purity, and innocence which filled the angels with admiration? What can be found stronger than she, through whom the Lord overcame the strong one and took away all his arms wherein he trusted? And that is a reference to Luke chapter 11, verse 21. What can be found holier than she, whom the power of the Most High overshadowed, and who was never infected by the heat of sin or passion? As ivory is bone without flesh, so Mary lived in the body as having no body. As ivory is bone without skin, so Mary despised all exterior things, namely the world and its vanities. As ivory is bone without hair, so Mary deprived herself of all superfluities by the love of holy poverty. Mary is a great throne, a throne of vast dimensions, for in her dwelt that God whom the heavens cannot contain. She is a throne also great in dignity, for the dignity of the Mother of God far exceeds even that of the angelic spirits. Whatever is great among creatures is less than Mary, and she is surpassed only by the Creator. The Blessed Virgin is a throne covered with the finest gold. Gold is the most precious of all metals, and gold represents charity, which is the greatest of all virtues. So brightly did the fire of the love of God burn in Mary, that Saint Ildefonse calls her a throne resplendent with the color of fire. Well could the Blessed Virgin say with Isaiah, I will greatly rejoice in the Lord, and my soul shall be joyful in my God. For he hath clothed me with the garments of salvation, and with the robe of justice he hath covered me, as a bride adorned with her jewels. And that's a quote from Isaiah 61, verse 10. The throne of Solomon had 6 steps, which symbolize the steps of the spiritual life. To ascend the first step, we need to learn how to meditate on holy subjects, for perverse thoughts separate from God, as we read in Wisdom 1, verse 3. Accustom your tongue to speak of holy and edifying things, and you have ascended the second. Do that which is right and just, and you have ascended the third. Teach those that err the ways of the Lord, and console the afflicted, and you have ascended the fourth. Leave the world and all that is in the world, and you have ascended the fifth. Persevere in your holy undertakings, and you have reached the 6th step, and you may aspire to the contemplation of the Queen of Heaven in all of her glory. The Scriptures state, the top of the throne was round, and this may be considered as a symbol of Our Lady's Assumption. For as in a round line there is no end, so the glory into which the Mother of God entered when she was taken up into heaven will have no end. We are also told that 12 little lions stood upon the steps. These represent the 12 apostles, who, ascending by the steps as we have described, contemplate the Queen of Heaven with the greatest admiration and joy. The two hands holding the seat are the active and the contemplative life, which held the Virgin Mother in such a perfect and wonderful manner that her exterior occupations were no hindrance to contemplation, and that she lived in contemplation without omitting any necessary or useful work, so that she could say, as it is written in the Canticles 2, verse 6, "His left hand is under my head, and his right hand shall embrace me." The two lions standing one at each hand may be taken as figures of the Archangel Gabriel and Saint John the Evangelist. The first stood at the Virgin's right, and the second at her left hand, for Gabriel watched over Mary's soul, and Saint John over her body. They are properly compared to lions on account of the roaring sound of their voices. The Archangel says, "Hail, full of grace, the Lord is with thee," and the Evangelist records the memorable words which he heard from Jesus' lips, "Behold thy mother." And finally, the Holy Scriptures say of Solomon's throne, "There was no such work made in any kingdom." No assertion is more true, more sublime, or more consoling to us poor sinners. For although God has produced many great and wonderful creatures, there is not among the works of his hands anything so excellent or magnificent as the Blessed Virgin Mary. Let us then go with confidence to the throne of grace, to Mary, full of grace, to the Mother of divine grace, that through her we may obtain mercy and find grace in seasonable aid. As the 12th century Adam of St. Victor, a prolific poet and composer of Latin hymns, wrote of the Immaculate Virgin, foreshadowed in the ancient king's seat of royalty, quote, "Thou art Solomon's great throne, like to which there is fun known, in material or art. Ivory and finest gold show thy purity untold, and the love which filled thy heart." Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you'd like to hear future broadcasts, please do two simple things. First, like this episode, and second, subscribe to this channel, Genesis 315. Until the next time, may God bless you, and may the Immaculate Heart of Mary keep you and yours under her starry mantle. Salve Regina.